Hello, class. Good morning. This is week 2, Human Computer Interface Guidelines, Principles, Theories, Design, and Overview. And so just remember last week we went over usability goals and measures, usability motivations, and IT professional goals. We looked a little bit at universal usability, addressing the variations in physical abilities in workplace, diverse cognitive and perceptual abilities, personality differences, culture and international diversity, users with disabilities, older and younger users, hardware and software diversity, and then finally we started looking at the ATM machine to look at a real world human computer interface. So you can see, from last week, there's, for interface design, there's just so many things we need to look at, even looking at, our users, what users are going to use the system and making the interface elegant to every user or our user base. So this week, we'll dive further into it. We'll look at the guidelines, principles, theories, and design. And so as we look at this, we're trying to create an elegant design, which is something that's easy to use, it's efficient for the user, and it's effective for the application as well, with the ultimate goal of getting adoption. And as you go through and you look at the readings, and especially the Apple interface guide, Apple is a great case study. Apple is, well known for their interface being elegant and, and easy use. And ultimately what you're trying to do as a company is gain adoption, through the users, especially with the Apple products. They're trying to, gain market share and gain user adoption. And so many organizations, including Apple, have created a chief design officer, and there's teams that just look at interface design. And so we'll discuss the current best practices of designing user interface, and we'll outline the importance of design consistency. And so there's a wealth of knowledge, especially when you start looking at the Apple example. There's so much that you can already read that's out there, different guidelines and principles. And then of course we can bring more on with prototyping and, and user, polling the users and seeing how they feel and actually testing interfaces on the users. So as you go through the readings, from the text, you'll look at the guidelines, principles, and theories. You'll go over the case study for Apple Computer, and then there's actually there's a web page for the Apple developer on the human interface guidelines for Apple. So that's really a great read. So get out there and read that. The recommended reading is the Cybersecurity Handbook of Social Engineering. I know a lot of students are in cybersecurity, and even if you're not, we have to look at cybersecurity and and everything we do in IT. It's such important. The discussion will focus on the golden rules of interface design. And so, like I said, there's already different guidelines and procedures out there. And so the author introduces 8 golden rules. And so we'll look at violations and then improvements to some of those rules. And then, there's 8 of them. So everybody, first there's only 3 of us in the class, but make sure you post early to the discussion board. And that way, your fellow students can also reply and make other real world suggestions and improvements. And then the assignment will look at the Apple Computer design consistency, and you'll discuss the primary differences between the iOS and other applications such as Windows and Unix. And you can even look at Droid and and then how that design consistency is important for Apple and how they're doing well with their organizational success. Again, as you go through the discussions and assignments, they're pretty straightforward research, but make sure you're looking at the rubrics and following the rubrics as you submit the assignments. If you have any questions or concerns, email me. Like I said, I check my email every morning and the evening and throughout the day. So if you have emailed me, you get a response right away. If you want to have a meeting, discuss anything further, shoot me an email and we'll set up a time. And I look forward to reading your submissions this week.